Hello there, I'm Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights, and today we're doing another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews, and we're delighted to have along Sash Jolliffe. So welcome, Sash, and thank you very much for agreeing to do this for us.
Hi, Anna. Thank you. It's
You're
a, it's
very
a pleasure
welcome.
to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's go straight into the questions. So the one I ask everyone, first of all, is could you tell us about your vegan journey? So how you got to where you are now?
Thank you. That's an interesting question and something that I find quite challenging to answer because it started a very long time ago, for as long as I can remember. And I was raised in a Muslim household, so the traditional teachings of kindness and mercy, but there was also element of sacrifice. And this is something that never sat right with me, and yet I slavishly believed in that indoctrination, essentially. It wasn't until I was about 13 years of age when I actually refused not only to consume the animals, but also to sit around the table with people that would do the same. But then the situation's changed, and that's where the challenging part comes in. The priorities changed as well. So that kind of trailed off, and it was not sustainable for various reasons that perhaps I can just talk about them maybe at a later date. Um, so in terms of going vegan, uh, as what vegan actually means, it wasn't until about 3 years ago, and then 4 days later, I started doing activism.
Yeah,
So that's a brief sort of
yeah.
summary of it.
So it sounds like a pretty brave move for a 13-year-old to be saying, such, I suppose it was probably seen as very controversial when you were talking about, being brought up in a particular faith. It must have been pretty hard for you, for your family to understand where you were coming from, because clearly they wouldn't have thought that they were doing anything wrong, but for you to challenge that sort of stance as well. Um, we know you as an advocacy ambassador for We the Free. You're also a board member for We the Free, UK liaison for Our Planet. There's two, and you also, I know you do. You're a co-organizer of some of the We the Free groups in the south as well. So we see you doing lots of different things all of the time. So how did you get that point, and what activism actually took you to that point as well? Because it's kind of, I know We the Free is kind of like a specific type of activism. So how did you kind of get to that point?
Thank you. When back in the days, again, about 3 years ago, I first started activism with Anonymous for the Voiceless. It's locally in Bournemouth. I was introduced to a local organizer through my partner, Chris, and um, and it kind of went from there. And then I became a organizer for Anonymous for the Voiceless. That did not last long for various reasons. Um, but I've been watching We the Free and for quite a while at the time, and I was very fond of their setup and seemed inclusive and very friendly community in the way that the optics of the organizations as well, which resonated with me and were in line with my values. So I applied as an organizer with Be Free for Bournemouth. That was 2 years ago, actually, January 2021, January 2022. We're in 2024. It just went from there. As I mentioned, aligned with my values, they are inclusive. Inclusivity is one of their values, and then non-violent. And of course, they do it for the animals
Yeah,
and for various other reasons as well. But
yes.
I
So,
knew straight away that that was the organization for me.
so you mentioned Anonymous of the Voiceless, and I know that obviously Earthland's experience, which was kind of like the first kind of one in this sort of setup, they did the Circle of Truth. EV did the Cube of Truth. So how does We the Free, how do the diamonds differ from those, and how successful have they been so far?
Well, again, going back to the values of We the Free. So We the Free carried out a survey.
Mm,
I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago, and they surveyed about 1,100 activists, and the vast majority of them said that they did not know or were not aware whether their activism had any impact or
mm,
made any difference. Also, many people mentioned that they were suffering through or struggled with compassion fatigue as well as burnout.
yeah.
Uh, and also the lack of support from the management, or whether from the organizer, from organizing organization. Uh, so they've decided that they would trial something new, and that's where my stats came in. That's where you
Yeah.
measure your inspiration rate, and that was the difference. So the diamond itself is something that was very familiar, like you mentioned, ethnic experience and ethnic experience. I believe it's Circle of Compassion, but correct me
Right.
if I'm
No,
wrong.
that you'll be right. Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely brilliant, and it worked. So they revolutionized street activism. I think that's if I could say that. Then Anonymous for the Voiceless adopted that, and then We the Free adopted that further, and then added the inspiration rate measurement,
Mm,
which was great. And then they offer, and then take it further. They offer HR support. They offer conflict resolution
mm,
support, so that the organizers on the ground would focus on the outreach and supporting the volunteers and managing the groups successfully, rather than being sort of involved directly in conflict, etc., which
yeah.
is, as we know, quite prominent in the movement.
So you're very much focused on the activists as well, aren't you? It's. I mean, obviously the animals are front and foremost, but you're very much focused on the activists, how they perform, almost sort of, how you want them to do things, but also how you can look after them, support them, which I think is really, really important. You mentioned compassion fatigue and anyone burnout, and that is something which we are very much aware of. Particularly some of the other things we do when we go to, we do slaughterhouse vigils as well. So it's very much it's very important that we all as activists look out for each other and look after ourselves as well. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And health is something that we really need to sort of put at the front of activism. So to make it sustainable. So
Yeah.
it is important that we look at after our health, as well as look after each other as well. So we the Free offer various workshops on that as well, and also support line, which is open 24/7,
Mm.
specifically designed for the activists, Samaritans, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really good idea. I mean, you're saying it's 24/7. That was not something I was aware of. Um, and the fact that people will need it at different times. Obviously, people are working and doing activism as well, doing different events at different times, and I suppose in different time zones in other countries as well. So, We the Free started in America, is that right?
It actually started in the UK.
Right, I wasn't right. I wasn't sure whether, because I was when I was doing a little bit of research, because I kind of get the message that it was actually American, but obviously it's in the UK. But there's quite a lot of chapters abroad. I mean, there's lots of in America. There's lots of different countries. So can you tell me how that works as well? I mean, are there any sort of cultural differences you have to consider when these chapters are working over there?
Yes, absolutely. We have teams in coming up to, I think, 25 countries now.
Mm,
But it originated, I think, as far as I'm aware, I think it's a British Canadian. But now it's a global organization. But it's originated in the UK, and there are connections to Canada.
mm,
Um, Managing, yes, absolutely. We must take cultural differences, cultural aspects of every country into consideration, whether it's religion or anything else
mm,
that comes into play here, and have to be sensitive around that. And the footage that we show, uh, is often region specific, so that it is relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking about how Wheel3 is very structured in terms of how the activism is done. So how does that work for you in reality with all of the different chapters? I mean, I know that you're involved in quite a few. So how do you kind of like keep everyone a message? And you talked about the measures, the success measures, if you like. So how do you keep that like kind of everybody kind of like doing the same sort of thing in the same way and moving in the same direction?
Of course, not without its challenges, absolutely. And we want to support the volunteers as much as we can, but everyone is different. Everyone runs the event the way that they feel safe and comfortable with. So what we've done, the teams are designed so that they can retain to some extent their grassroots position, um, with the support of the larger organization. Uh, Therefore, the organizers, they have full autonomy to
Mm,
run the events how they see fit.
mm,
Again, taking into consideration a bit sensitive culturally
mm,
per region.
yeah,
So it's actually, although there were challenges in terms of from the logistics point of view and the management point of view, however, it wasn't that difficult because of the way that the structure is designed. And we do put volunteers first, of
yeah,
course, and then the management come last. Um, we often so we use technology a lot. As mentioned, my stats, the inspiration rate, we
yeah,
communicate very well with our volunteers. We have a really good global support team
mm.
that are always there to support across several time zones. And it works like a very well-oiled machine.
Good, good. So as well as doing this, you also run National Animal Rights Day, which is how I kind of become to know you. I know we had a discussion. You talking about how organisers can run their own events in a way which makes them feel safe and comfortable. And we were initially talking about how National Animal Rights Day, how there is, how animals are used in that event, and how sort of like different ways we can do things. So on the actual day itself, we've already mentioned that we have World Vegan Day, we have National Farmed Animal Day, we have lots of national or international events for particularly around animals and animal rights. So why did you feel the need to do another day, if you kind of like, if you get my drift, like another event rather than kind of like add to an event which was already there?
Excellent question, Anna. Thank you. Just to clarify, that it was not me who started it.
Yeah, I'm saying you as in like
Actually,
you, not
yeah,
I don't.
new organization. Yeah, no, I understand. I would love to. What I was going to say is I would love to take credit because I think it's an amazing event. It's a unifying event. It's a brilliant event.
Mm,
And it's very inclusive and welcoming, and it's for the animals that suffered at the hands of
yeah,
humans. Uh, they actually started in 2011, so it's not a new
yeah,
concept, and it was done previously by other organizations and individual activists, etc. So uh, in the UK, perhaps it's a new concept. It
yeah,
wasn't running for long. I believe the first event was in 2019 or 2020.
yeah,
Um, but it wasn't as big as it was
yeah,
last year.
yeah,
And it really took off last year.
yeah,
We held it in 18 locations in the UK, and almost 200 events around, nearly 200
yeah,
locations around the world, around in approximately 50 countries,
yeah,
um, which was dubbed as the largest collaboration
mm,
of all time, with most activists
yeah,
taking part in one day, from the volunteer point of view, across so many countries. So the difference between that and other days, such as Farm Animal Day and World Vegan Day, is that World Vegan Day, of course, is celebrating or commemorating the 50th anniversary of vegan society, or when the term vegan actually was born. So National Animal Rights Day was created by Our Planet There's Two, which is a group of activists, and it's a memorial service. It's a requiem ceremony to commemorate all the animals that suffered at the hands of humans. That includes the burial of the animals if the animals are present. If the deceased animals are present, and also there is something called a celebration, which is the latter part of the day. It's similar to a funeral, or funeral wake, if you like. So there's also something called Declaration of Animal Rights, which is the activists as well as the members of the public are invited to sign the Declaration of Animal Rights. It's translated in many languages, and all of the languages where the event actually takes place. So that's the main difference between that and the other events that we have.
I suppose, I mean, when you stood to describe it as a funeral wake, that's exactly what it is, because in a human funeral wake, it's kind of commemorating the persons who have died, and then you're actually celebrating the life. And we did that in our Newcastle event. We did a very solemn march around our local area, and then we invited people to lay flowers, which was actually surprisingly to us very well received, because we weren't sure about how many people would step up to do that, and we had actually quite a few people do that. And then we had the celebration, we had a speech, and then we had the music afterwards as well. So it was something which we would definitely want to stay involved with, as long as it goes on, really, because it was such a different way of doing activism. And it kind of gave us a moment to reflect on the animals, each individual animal, as a unique being. So it was really, really good. And we your support up to the event as well was absolutely brilliant. I don't know how you mustn't have slept at all in like the months up to it, because there was so many things I was asking you. So God, so I don't know how many other people were constantly hassling you for questions, and but it was really, really good. We did enjoy it. So we would definitely do it again and continue doing it. So thank you very much. Anyway, next question. So some of the activism we talked about, you talked about the burial of animals, obviously. So this event, in some places, some people were holding dead animals. So it can be seen as quite confrontational. I remember we had this conversation about how it would be in Newcastle. But actually in your ordinary activism, you have the We the Free videos, and that's obviously got graphic footage on. So how do you balance upsetting members of the public along with getting the truth out to actually what happens with animals? The animal stories out there. So how do you manage to balance that? Because it is quite a tricky one.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right there. And we run different events. One of them is the Diamond, as you're aware, that's the oldest activist street activism style, similar to the Circle of Compassion. And we're now rolling out a 3-minute movie challenge. You may have heard of that. We experimented with it for a while. So most of our teams are now doing 3-minute movie challenge in the streets, and quite a few teams are doing a 3-minute movie challenge exclusively. And why it works, it's consensual. So the members of the public are invited to take part in the challenge. So therefore, there is less sort of resistance. And once they've committed, the conversations afterwards that we have seem to have a better quality, as well as the public more receptive. And as you know, the excuses that people, or the distractions, as Dr. Melanie Joy would call them, they come up with them a lot. And 3-minute movie challenge seems to address that. A 3-minute movie challenge also designed to attract new activists who some perhaps not comfortable talking to the public for the first time. How do we address upsetting the public as well as getting the message across? Yes, it can be challenging sometimes, but when we say upsetting the public, it's not that we upset the public, it's the way that the public react to the footage that is shown to them. Um, Particularly with 3 minute movie challenge, it's actually 3.5 minutes of some of the graphic footage from the slaughterhouses and general standard practices from animal agriculture. And they find it upsetting in many cases for very obvious reasons. And then we offer support because one of the values of We the Free is we are nonviolent, and we apply nonviolent communication, which is incredibly important because to break down or help break down the social norms where animals are here for us to be used one way or another. And this is something that's probably the most challenging part of helping people to get their heads around the oppression and exploitation part. And once we succeed in that, then the how becomes very, very easy. And that's where we bring in the 3movies.wtf, which is with many resources to help people to address the hows after they realize the whys.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is challenging, but it does work, and it all depends on the style that you adopt, and that's why we offer inspiring behavior change workshops. They run monthly, and they are interactive, and they're live. In fact, the next one will actually be the Sunday, and I am lucky enough to co-facilitate it this time, which is on
Yeah.
the 10 o'clock of 14th of January.
That's, I mean, there's an awful lot to unpick there. I mean, one of the things, first of all, which came to mind is something quite basic. I'm not presumably this has been quite well researched to come to this point, but how did you decide? Why did you decide on 3 minutes? I know you said 3.5 minutes, but why the 3 minute challenge? Why not 2 minutes? Why not 4 minutes? Is there some research which says 3 minutes is enough to kind of get the information over without? Or is there something scientific behind it, or?
I don't believe so. It's probably the most of the longest time that somebody could actually stand and watch or sit and watch something uninterruptedly. We were completely immersed in the experience. The footage itself is generally between three and 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them are longer, but also we want to reach out to as many people as possible. So if it is any longer than 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, then you're not going to reach to as many people on the day. But also, if it's any shorter, then we simply can't fit all of the industry standard practices in that video. And also, 3movies.wtf or three is just in line with that. So 3movies.wtf came first, so showing the main three movies, which Dominion is one of them, and then there are other two, and then followed by all the other resources that we offer. So in line with that, they designed a 3 minute movie
Yeah,
challenge.
that makes sense. So it's more like practical and logistical to get as many people to watch it as possible. I suppose if you had a 10 minute, if you're doing 2 hour sessions and you've got 10 minute films, it's going to be quite hard to get people through. Have you ever been? Have you ever had any police interest when you're doing these events? I mean, I know AV in Newcastle a couple of years ago did, and they actually got closed down because I remember the public complained about the graphic footage. Have you ever had any issues like that?
Not necessarily issues. We tend to have or build very good relationship with local authorities and local police. They understand the reasons behind it, but also with 3 minute movie challenge, because the footage is not explicitly shown or openly shown to the
Yeah,
public, and the public consent to that, so therefore there is no issue as such. Also, even if when the public complain, it is after all a protest, so we do have the right to protest.
yeah,
So And it's how you hold the conversation with the local authorities and
Yeah.
police as well. Again, applying that very non-violent communication, because they're also humans, they're also there for your protection as well as the protection
Yeah.
of the public. Um, is how you communicate with them. But yes, definitely, they do visitors. In fact, we had police officers taking the challenge, um, and be just building a good relationship with them is incredibly important.
Yeah, yeah. We do that in up at Newcastle, the Newcastle Police, and also the local authorities as well, because it is so much easier working with them rather than having to kind of firefight problems as they arise. And I suppose you're right in terms of, I mean, the way we do things like that. We have a video screen on our table with a gazebo over it, so people have to kind of step forward, almost like they're accepting the fact that they're going to see this footage rather than they're not walking past and seeing graphic footage. And you're right, it is about consent, but also about kind of making sure that the people who are watching it are looked after afterwards as well. It's not a case of you've seen this awful stuff, now go away and and think about what you've seen. We need to talk about it and kind of like break down why they feel the way that they are feeling. Um, so, right, so now we're running out of time now. Just a little message pop up there saying we're running out of time. um, if people want to work with We the Free, or to join National Animal Rights Day, or do any work for Our Planet Days too, how should they do that? Can they get in touch with you, or is there an address or a website they should go to?
We should be starting coordinating the events in the UK very, very soon. I will release the date shortly. I believe it will be in the next couple of weeks or so. But in the meantime, people can reach out to me directly. I am on various social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook. I am on Telegram. I am on Signal. I am on WhatsApp. That people can call me as well, and they can email me as well. All my contact details are on both
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook pages,
You essentially have
so they
no
can reach
life.
out.
You have no life,
Uh,
don't you? It's just non-stop.
well, it is my life. That is my life, and
Yeah,
I really don't mind.
yeah.
I it's a good way to sort of
It is. I mean, it's a good. It's you can't sort of you can't really not the fact that that every part of your life is spent trying to make the world a better place for every being in it, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what our group is trying to do as well. And I know when we've worked with you in the past, like last year, we found it an absolute delight. You were really really brilliant to work with, and you're always relentlessly positive. Every time I've seen you, I saw you at vegan camp out this year as well. You're always so positive. So just thank you for everything that you're doing for the animals, and a big hello from all of us up at Newcastle as well. And we will look forward to working with you in June for the National Animal Rights Day. So I'm going to sign off now and say thank you very much to Sash for joining us today. This is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights, and we will speak to Sash offline and catch up with him about other things as well. So we hope you've enjoyed this interview, and catch up with you all soon. Bye for now.
thank you.